Austin Cindric does not get suspended. Go ahead and get your popcorn ready because NASCAR has now sued 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports. Plus, Chase Briscoe actually won his appeal. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Before we get into the news, let's talk about ratings real quick because NASCAR got 4.1 million viewers for their Cup race on Sunday at Circuit of the Americas, peaked out at 4.8. That's really good. That's up over the 2024 race, which was at the end of March. This was the third race of the year. Typically see higher viewership through the first few weeks before it starts to drop off a little bit, but regardless, still really good. Fox is up 6% for the entire year so far. On the IndyCar side of things, 1.4 million viewers tuned in to watch the IndyCar season opener on Fox. That is the most watched non-IndyCar race since 2011 and peaked out at 1.8. So good job for Fox. Just clean up the Cup broadcast a little bit. Getting into the news of the day, though, Austin Cindric did not get suspended for intentionally wrecking Ty Dillon on Sunday at Circuit of the Americas. And then if you missed it in the final corner, Ty Dillon pushes Austin Cindric wide and coming back onto the racetrack. Austin Cindric going down the front stretch, hooks Ty Dillon in the right rear like he's Carson Hocevar in the NASCAR Truck Series. 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 times, as many times as he's done it now. Turns the 10 car around, gives him damage, and continues on with his race. He does not get suspended. Instead, NASCAR elected to fine him $50,000 and a 50-point penalty, which drops him down to 35th place in points, 41 points below that 16th place cutoff as it currently stands. And I know a lot of people are going to say, why did he not get suspended? Because NASCAR has suspended Bubba Wallace, they suspended Chase Elliott for doing the same thing in Las Vegas and in Charlotte. Why didn't it happen here? And NASCAR talked about it on the Hauler Talk podcast. Get it wherever podcast you listen to them at. You can find it there. And they basically said that the slower nature of a road course, the fact that the 10 car did not get race-ending damage, and the fact that the spin did not bring out a caution all played a major factor in this, which is why they elected to not suspend him, but instead give him a 50-point fine and a $50,000 fine on top of that. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's hypocritical. And you can say that because they've suspended people for doing this at mile and a half. At the same time, this kind of falls in line with what they gave Noah Gragson when he intentionally wrecked somebody, I believe it was at Road America, and NASCAR elected to give him a monetary fine and a point penalty fine. They also referenced the Carson Hocevar penalty that they issued back at Nashville last year. When he intentionally wrecked Harrison Burton under caution, they gave him a $50,000 fine and a 25-point penalty. They've elected to raise that up to 50 points now, which is why Austin Cindric was given $50,000 fine and a 50-point fine on top of that. Sucks for Austin Cindric. Don't hook people in the right rear. At the same time, if it does bring out a caution, does that mean he gets suspended? If it does, end his race, that would mean Ty Dillon. Does that mean Cindric gets suspended? It definitely opens up a bit of Pandora's box, but historically it falls in line with the other penalties that they've had here. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the mile per hour range is to sort of justify this is low speed, this is high speed, because it looks like it happened at a little bit over 100 mile an hour there, which is pretty quick to get turned, going. Pitt maneuvered him like he was an Arkansas State Trooper. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see going forward if it happens again, what NASCAR's response is, because right now we know it's $50,000 and a 50-point fine. But hey, if you already have a win, who cares about the 50-point fine, right? So yeah, be interested to see if this happens again this year, sort of what the response is. Go ahead and get your popcorn ready. I'm not going to eat any of it because nobody wants to hear me chew into a microphone, because NASCAR on Wednesday has countersued 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports. So now, if you're keeping track at home, the teams, 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsport, are suing NASCAR for anti-competitive violations. Now NASCAR is suing 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, and Curtis Polk, one of the owners in 2311 Racing, for essentially the same thing, violating Section 1 of the Sherman Act and colluding to willfully violate antitrust laws. All right, what is happening here? Basically, there's a few main takeaways from this. We'll start off with the collusion part. What's going on? NASCAR is saying that Curtis Polk and 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports basically colluded to try to get the other teams to boycott the Daytona qualifying races. And they also got them to try to boycott the required meetings with NASCAR for the charter agreements, which were required by the charter agreement as well, all in an effort to try to get better terms for themselves in this charter agreement. So basically, colluding to get better terms, not ideal here. That is a violation. The same way that the teams are accusing NASCAR of violating antitrust laws as well by being like, hey, this is our final offer. We're not going to do this. And basically trying to, get with team by team by team to get them to sign on and not collectively bargain together. Okay, we've got this. NASCAR, not a fan of Curtis Polk whatsoever. Refer to them as a cartel. Basically named him in this because, well, when the team sued NASCAR, they explicitly named Jim France. So this is kind of the Spider-Man meme of the two sides just pointing back and forth at each other. So Curtis got thrown into this, same way Jim France got thrown into this. All right. What else is part of this? One of the biggest takeaways is the fact that NASCAR is very open to just scrapping the entire charter system. So if you remember back, NASCAR never wanted the charter system. And as their lawyer said today on the media call, it provides no benefit to NASCAR, which is true. They never wanted this. And now they've got this major headache because these two teams are suing them over a system that they never wanted. They gave it to the owners, though, because the owners requested it, because the owners wanted an equitable asset out of their race team. Okay, great. Gave it to them. Now, got all these headaches. The 2016 charter agreement expired at the end of 2024. NASCAR thought, oh yeah, it's probably going to be continuation. Wrong. 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, did not sign that agreement. Basically, Michael Jordan, Curtis Polk came in saying that, hey, we're going to change the way NASCAR does business here. And we want it to be more like the NBA. We want it to be more like a collective bargaining agreement, which is all fine and great, except for the fact that when it comes to the NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, all of the owners have an equity share in the league. They all work together. It's a collective bargaining. They hire a commissioner who oversees everything. That's how that works. Here, we don't have that in NASCAR. The teams don't own NASCAR. The France family owns NASCAR, and they negotiate with the teams. So the two sides are constantly negotiating against one another, constantly competing for sponsorships. They're competing against each other, basically, at all times. And it was just never going to happen. So they tried to come in and change things. And now NASCAR is accusing them of using the legal system to try to get the benefits of the charter agreement that they want, trying to get what they wanted out of this. And it doesn't seem like it's working out too well because NASCAR is willing to scrap the whole charter system over the behavior of these two teams. And that's not going to make the other teams happy. I know some people are going to say, well, they do scrap the charter agreement and we go back to just open cars, which NASCAR said that they are very open to. Does that mean those 13 other teams that did sign the charter agreement already can sue NASCAR? I think yes. Now, obviously, if that happens, things can get a little bit crazy here. There's a lot of people that are like, what happens to these owners that spent $25 to $40 million on a charter? Listen, charters were always bought with the understanding that this is a risk. They are not permanent. They could go away at the end of any charter agreement. Now, trying to just completely scrap the charter agreement in the middle of the agreement, first year of the new 7-year deal, I'm curious to understand what the legality of that would be going forward. But things are definitely getting interesting in this entire case. NASCAR also, through their lawyer, does not think that 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsport care about the long-term health of the sport or even trying to grow the sport because they say, quote, the team seem intent on destroying the value that the race teams in partnership with NASCAR have built. Also goes on to say NASCAR wants to work with teams to grow the sport. I don't know if 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports truly want to grow the sport, so I don't know what the path toward a resolution here is at the moment. And Denny Hamlin, in response to that, tweeted out, hey, you can come see me at my signings as I try to help grow the sport in Phoenix this weekend. Got a little jab in there as well. So the Jeffrey Kessler, the lawyer for the teams, did post a statement. It reads exactly like what you would expect it to, basically calling everything baseless, saying that NASCAR is still anti-competitive. It's up right here. You can pause and read it if you want to, or you can find it on their social channels. Either way, the teams right now, that being 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, they're endangering the continuation of the charter system existing. And I know that's not going to make the other 13 owners very happy right now. And I'm really interested to see how all this is going to play out. So, like I said, get your popcorn ready. Guys, something incredibly rare happened on Wednesday. Chase Briscoe and his number 19 team, they officially won their appeal, dating back to the Daytona 500, where NASCAR penalized them for modifying a single source supplied part, that being the spoiler base, saying that they elongated the mounting holes on that base. The team was like, we didn't do this. This wasn't from us. This was the whole procedure of mounting this base to the top of the deck lid. That's what caused this. And NASCAR handed them a 100-point fine, $100,000 fine, suspended crew chief James Small for 4 weeks, and penalized Chase Briscoe 10 playoff points. Not great. Really bad, actually. Instead, it got overturned now. That means Chase Briscoe gets his 100 points back. And as he said on Twitter, that's the best points day he's ever had because he went from being in the negatives all the way back to being 14th in the points, back into the playoffs as it currently stands for the time being. That's huge. His crew chief, James Small, not suspended. The team does not have to pay a $100,000 fine. So what the National Motorsports Appeals panel said is, quote, the panel believes the elongation of some of the holes on the number 19 car spoiler base is caused by the process of attaching that specific spoiler base to the rear deck and not modification of the single source part. So basically what they're saying there is that this is a defect from the manufacturer. I will say this, we haven't seen it happen with anybody else, so it does seem like it is a bit of a defect there in what has happened, but the team did not modify the part. I know there's still going to be people on the internet, Facebook, calling them cheating Yoder, saying they got away with it because Toyotas always get away with everything. But from the start, the team was very adamant that they did not modify this part. And as Chase Briscoe said in his tweet, they spent hours upon hours getting data together and evidence to, make their case and say that they did not do this. And it got overturned. And I'm happy that it did get overturned because it gives others hope to potentially do this. Now, if you do modify a single source supplied part, then that's on you. You're going to get penalized for it. At the same time, sometimes mistakes happen. Sometimes they're just defects, and sometimes that's just how parts are made, and you mount it, and this is what happens. So for now, they've overturned it. Something I didn't expect to see on Wednesday. When Chase Briscoe goes up the point standings, Austin Cindric drops down the point standings. But hey, don't hook people in the right rear. For Briscoe though, like I said, this is a really, really big points day for him. It gets him right back up into the hunt and to the chase of things, literally. And we'll see how it plays out now going forward for them. But hey, they got those 100 points back, and they have to be pretty psyched about it. NASCAR, on the other hand, I guess they're going to, probably take this base back and be like, all right, so let's understand what happened here with the supplier to make sure that this doesn't happen again. At the same time, hey, the team presented all the evidence and they got it overturned, which is really good for them and for their entire season right now, because like I said, they were still down in the negatives. That's not ideal at all. So let me know in the comments what you think about Austin Cindric not getting suspended, NASCAR countersuing the teams, and Chase Briscoe getting all his points back and winning the appeal. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.